Yes, everybody, welcome back to WD18, the Watford fan channel. It finished Reading 2, Watford 2 at the Select Car Leasing Stadium, otherwise known as the Majesty Stadium, otherwise known as in the middle of nowhere. Sam was there yesterday. Sam, now look, we mentioned it on the FA Cup game. No offence to Reading, but it's a shocking away day, bar the fact it's quite close. But how was your day out anyway?
Yeah, it was. I mean, I went down from Birmingham, and again, it was quite close. So in that respect, it's quite nice. But the ground's just in the middle of nowhere. I was trying to get a taxi after the game back to the station because the ground's ages away from Reading Station, and that's when I recorded the match reaction because we were waiting so long for an Uber to connect as well. So in that respect, it was a bit of a nightmare, and also it's a bit of a. I don't know. I don't want to say the stadium's soulless there, but because it's one of those sort of more modern it was empty, and I don't know. I don't think it really helped with any sort of atmosphere yesterday. Obviously, it doesn't help when Watford throwing away 2-goal leads like that, which we'll come on to. But I'm glad that we won't have to go to Reading for at least another year or so.
Yeah, it gives serious MK Dons vibes. Caroline, good evening. Hope you're doing well. 2 points dropped rather than one gained. Charlie, 2 points dropped or one gained?
Massively 2 points dropped. I mean, I was just in a bit of shock, really. I thought we were maybe not in control, but I just thought Reading was so bad. Yeah. Scored that second goal, and I just didn't see any threat for them. I was sending voice notes in a Scottish accent, celebrating Ryan Porteous' goal. Wouldn't do that. And then, I'm sure we'll get onto it, but we just threw it away. So frustrating, annoying. Yeah,
really annoying. I will get that voice note up. I feel like the channel does need to hear it. But on a serious note, it was seriously frustrating, Sam. There wasn't a case. I didn't feel like it was inevitable. But when I have to admit, when I was watching live and I saw us get Shane Longed, I mean, in the most just soft way possible. Just there was a feeling inside me which was like I could just see us throwing away the lead. And despite the second goal being a really good goal, to be fair to Jeff Hendrick, when in that away end, was there like a growing feeling that it was going to go towards Reading yesterday?
Yeah, I think when the second goal went in, I think the feeling was that we were in control, that we could run away with this if we carried on sort of that intensity, creating chances. Reading were going to open up to try and get a goal back. So we had a really good opportunity there to get a few more goals in there. It reminded me a bit of the way the first half was and the start of the second half. If you remember Stoke away earlier in the season, where it was sort of a scrappy first half, we ended the half 1-0 up, get an early goal in the second half. And at that point, I was thinking maybe we could sort of go on again to win 3 or 4-0. But when they got their goal, and obviously our disallowed goal as well, which in hindsight, I mean, looking back at it now, I think it was offside, wasn't it? The Sombalonga.
Yeah.
But as soon as sort of that happened, you just knew, didn't you, whether it was going to be a scrappy goal or a really nice finish from Jeff Hendrick. We were always going to throw away those points, which is just so frustrating.
Did you have that same feeling, Charlie, when that first one went in?
Yeah, I've got bad flashbacks of last season in the Premier League when we're trying to see a game out. We're 1-0, we're getting to a draw as the game's ticking on, giving away cheap free kicks around the area, and just the inevitable happens. I can't remember the last time being a Watford fan, like feeling in control of the game or like we're going to edge something out. I think a couple of times we've done this season, Wigan away, but that was a late on goal, so they didn't have time. Huddersfield were bad that day, and that's why I'm frustrated, because I don't think Reading are a great team, and we should have just put them to the sword and not give them a sniff at all. I'm sure we're going to talk about the incidents, but I think it was so preventable. And yeah, I bet Bilic is fuming.
Yeah, I think there was some choice language, I'd imagine, that away dressing room. We'll get on to, as Charlie mentions, the incidents. Just a couple of comments before we maybe just go through the lineup initially yesterday. Laura says, great to see Laura. Confidence sapped out of the team after the penalty. Completely agree with that. Caroline says, once they got their first goal, we all knew how that game was going to go. Ryan says, why do some people say that Slaven Bilic want him to be sacked? Arden, could see Arden. Do you think we can still go up now? Obviously, by the playoffs, we'll get onto that a little bit later. Freddie says, feels like a defeat, although there were some positives. Porteous looks a good buy, and Sarr had one of his better games. Yeah,
Makes it more frustrating though, because I agree with Freddie there. There were a lot of positives to take out of the game actually, which we'll touch on. But there were a few individuals who I thought did really well yesterday. But it's just a mentality thing. As soon as we concede that goal, it was always going to end one way.
Yeah, it did feel like that. And obviously Watford are now 5th in the league, 30 games played, on 45 points in 5th position. But just going back to yesterday, so lineup-wise, we'll go through it, Sam. So we had Daniel Batman in goal, Gaspar, Porteous, Cathcart, Kamara, Bacuna, Chowdhury, Mateus Martins, Ismail Assar, Arouge and Keenan Davis. And you look at that team, I think for a while it felt like the most recognisable team we've seen, right, in terms of the players that put out. The one player that's been talked about for starting is Bacuna, with Ishmael Kone on the bench. Obviously, Pedro's back on the bench after a long time out. Asan Balonga came on to make his second Watford debut. Yeah, Wejihu Adeyemo who came on. But Kone not playing, Sam, is that... I know Charlie's a big fan, but from your perspective, were you surprised to see him not being used yesterday?
So
he was used as in not started.
No, of course. I was so surprised to see it because I know he's been off the boil in the last couple of games, but we've seen enough of him to suggest that he's better than Bacuna, even if perhaps the shape wasn't going to suit Ismail Kone the best that it could. But Bacuna, since he's come in, has shown little to nothing to suggest that he should be starting when there's other midfielders available as well, because he's, to be honest with you, he's slow on the ball. He doesn't get out quick enough to his man. He gives the ball away easily. And Ismail Kone has got to be starting for me, even if he is slightly out of position in that regard. But yeah, really, really poor. And I hope in that respect, and we'll come on to Bilic later, as we say, I think Bilic also has to look at himself after yesterday.
Charlie, thoughts? Kone not playing. Weird one from my perspective, but could you understand the thinking from Bilic on that one?
I'm edging on agreeing with Sam a bit. When we were looking at the formation yesterday, we were trying to figure out what they were going with. We done that fun video last week, didn't we, when we picked that 11? So make sure you check that out if you haven't already. But he started in Bilic's favoured 4-2-3-1 with Keenan Davis in the 10, which I thought was interesting. I don't necessarily think it was effective. Keenan Davis, if you look at his average position, he was very, very deep. He comes deep anyway to get the ball, but he was even deeper. And I just felt like him and the Rouge maybe didn't have as good a link up. And I just thought like it would have been perfect for Chowdhury and Kone. Chowdhury, the one really good out of possession, putting out fires, getting the ball back, passing it. And we had a lot of the ball yesterday. We needed someone good in possession. And I thought Kone would have had a lot of space to drive into, get past players, start attacks. And Bacuna, his best game for me was against Norwich when we were backs up against the wall when he was putting out fires, and it was a very much defensive, solid play. But yeah, I was a bit gutted Kone wasn't playing with Chowdhury there, and I think for that, before their corner, I think Gaspar gave it away cheaply on the right, trying to play a simple pass, and then it kind of came back, and Bacuna and Gaspar just couldn't clear it between them. So. Yeah, real shame that we didn't see Kone start alongside Chowdhury because I thought that'd be a really dynamic pairing.
Yeah, that's one thing. We'll be interested to see if he does go back to that partnership that you made. Well, say back, actually using that partnership that you mentioned, Charlie, with Chowdhury next to Kone. I saw a tweet from Lou Orns about Bacuna, and we just not to single him out, but just to kind of see his impact on this team. He said, I know Bacuna was a free agent, but I didn't realise how limited he was. In 5 starts for us, he's made 5 final third passes, 1 progressive carry, 11 progressive passes, 2 tackles, and 6 interceptions. And if people don't who watch and don't kind of understand those stats, a lot of those stats you'd see in one game, in one performance from a player, particularly from a central midfielder. So he's producing in 5 games something that you would expect to see, maybe bar the passes in 1 game. So when you look at that, Charlie, just throw it back over to you. Is this the last we'll see really of him? Because it felt like when he came in, he was a stopgap signing. We needed him for a couple of games. As you mentioned, that Norwich game was the one where he stood out because he kind of had to do a couple of jobs. And it seemed like the whole team was lifted because it was like completely backs against the wall. But do you think that might be the last we see of him in a Watford shirt?
I'm not sure, to be honest. I don't think Slav's worried about like changing it up, and I thought he'd have just put Kone straight in yesterday. Does he offer anything experienced leadership that we kind of don't see? Like, I'm a bit worried that maybe Slav doesn't think Kone is up to it yet, or he might give away stuff because he got hooked in the last 2 games pretty early. So I'm a bit worried that maybe Slav doesn't trust him yet. But yeah, I think on the evidence with the eye test, you definitely rather see Kone in there. And he has got something about him. And like we said in the last video, he cost 8 million. So do you know what I mean?
It's like
We all know why Bakuna got bought in. So
yeah.
Blackburn is going to be interesting to see who he goes with.
He has to start though, Sam.
Yeah,
Sure.
definitely. As I said before, Kone has been off the boil in the last couple of games. Slaven Bilic took him off quite early. I think one of them was half-time, isn't it?
Has that been his fault? Because it does feel like the games that he played, he's kind of having to do almost 2 jobs in one. I mean, as Charlie mentioned, his best attribute is the way he can drive past the midfield line and get out.
Yeah, definitely.
A different job to what he's used to, right?
Yeah, I think we're using him wrong. And I'll say it's not his fault because I've seen nothing to suggest that it's down to a lack of effort. He seems to work hard. He runs, he chases the ball, he tries to win it back. There's definitely been glimpses there to say that there is a player. It just might take a bit of time because he's young, still coming to a new country. But I just hope that, I think Charlie raises a good point there. It worries me that perhaps Bilic doesn't seem as a good fit at the moment, or maybe he doesn't see him as ready yet. But I think the big man as well we're missing is Imran Loser in there. When he's fit, we needed someone as well to take the ball from deep, pick it up and bring it forward. And that's been a theme over the last few games, really, since Imran Loser got injured again in that game against Millwall, was it? Millwall away, I think it was.
Millwall away. Yeah.
Yeah, we've said the same problem there. So I'd quite like to see a midfield 3 of Loser, Kone and Hamza Chowdhury as well. I think that could bring a nice balance.
And this is why, sorry, Jacob, this is why we were talking about that in January. We wanted that maybe more experienced centre midfielder to come in. Obviously, Musa Sissoko, they tried to get him. But yesterday's game, although we were the better team and we took a 2-goal lead, we were never in control. We were never just like dictating the tempo, knocking it around, choosing when to attack. It was so scrappy and their balls ricocheting off each other. Just needed someone to put their foot on the ball and calm it down. I think Cleverley might have done a good job. Obviously, Sam mentioned it. Imran Loser would have been absolutely perfect for that game because he would just controlled it, but we had no one. And I really like Hamza Chowdhury, and I know it's not his game, but I would expect a bit more in terms of where he's come from to be able to put his foot on the ball, sideways passing, and maybe not against the best teams and against best opposition. But yesterday it was just so chaotic in the middle. We just needed someone to have a bit of composure.
Yeah, I think Chowdhury basically confirmed to me the difference between in his role. I think he's a great player to have in the Championship, but if you put him in a Premier League team, I maybe understand why his opportunities at times at Leicester was limited, because I think, as you say, Charlie, if you've come from a Premier League team, I'd almost expect, even if it's not your out-and-out role, to be able to get the football down and just kind of control it to an extent, particularly when you've got your backs against the wall a little bit. I can't wait to have Loser back. I also do think, Sam, there is an element of, have we, as Charlie mentioned, we didn't dip into the market for a 6 or a player who can get it down and control the game as well as Loser can do. It seems like they're basically pinning their hopes on him being back for us for the final run going into the playoffs. It is quite hard, I'd imagine, as a fan, particularly if you're going to games. I mean, it's hard enough at the minute for myself and Charlie, who aren't getting to them. Well, me anyway. I don't know about you, Charlie, but I'm watching them thinking, just pass the ball properly. I mean, there's so many times we just give the ball away so cheaply, Sam. I mean, if this and we were seeing the same things in the Premier League, and we're at this point we're relying on individual quality, aren't we? Well, do you believe we're relying on individual quality to get us out of situations?
Yeah, definitely. I think I'll sort of bring 2 answers here. One is, if you haven't listened from the Rookery Ends podcast this week, the one that was either released last night or this morning, I'd say definitely have a listen to that, because that's sort of gives a really good sort of outlook on our January business and yesterday. And there was sort of a fear, I think it was either from Michael or Geordie, saying that we might be pinning too much on Imran Loser, particularly with his sort of injury record would it really shock anyone with our sort of record that if he goes down within 10 minutes of his first game back and we're back to square one again? So we do need to find solutions and alternatives because it might take losers some time as well to get back up to speed. So we can't pin too much on him. But also, I think you're right, Jacob, like particularly going to the games where I sit in the rookery behind the goal. Yesterday at Reading, where you're sort of behind the goal as well, near the corner flag, you sort of get a good view of the whole pitch. And the midfielders particularly, sometimes just no one's showing for the ball and it ends up just being a long ball forward, hoping that Davis can win it or Sarr can get on the ball in behind, and then it's sort of just the ball just ends up being recycled over and over again. And it's those patterns of play that are so frustrating because I know every team plays differently and I don't want to compare us to other sides, but you look at Burnley under Vincent Kompany, you look at Heckingbottom with Sheffield United, you even look at David Wagner now at Norwich. They play such good football because the ball isn't rushed. Players wanting the ball, players are appreciating the ball at their feet. But at the moment, I just feel like we're too rash, we're too loose with so many of our passes, and it's really impacting us.
So one comment from Adam says Bilic needs to be better, needs to stop excuses. At points we have no style of play and are too slow. Is that harsh? Is that fair, Charlie?
I think there's definitely some moments where I think Bilic can be doing better, but like again, I'm watching yesterday's game and I'm seeing João Pedro is just coming back, and it looks like Keenan Davies and Arouge both went off for Britt and someone else. So it's like we couldn't have our best players on. They're obviously like working on their load and minutes and stuff like that. So if I saw Bilic had his best team and we've had like 5 games and we didn't see an improvement on patterns of play, playing style, because I do believe that he has got the experience and he has done it before with a 4-2-3-1 that we can get things working, but he just hasn't had any consistency. God, sound like a broken record saying it. So there are moments where I do think Bilic can make different decisions, but I think it's too harsh to judge. And I know there's obviously with Watford, every time we get a bad result, there's always those murmurs about a managerial change. But for me, we've just got to stick with him, hopefully get as many players back. We're still 5th. So the season in now, we'll have the playoffs. Yeah. And play until the end of the season. Hopefully, we're in the playoffs. See how that plays out and go from there. But I think we're just going to have to stomach it. And I even think now until maybe this month might be a bit rocky. And hopefully when Losers back, like towards the start of, well, apparently Losers back in a couple of months, but he's going to need some games. He's not going to be able to play 90 minutes straight away. So I think maybe mid-March is when we're going to see a full-strength team. And we might only have 10 games left after that or even less.
Yeah, well, this is the thing. I'm looking at the table now, Charlie, and I'm like, seeing where we are in 5th position, 45 points, Millwall to get into the playoffs are 2 points behind us. So, I mean, it is really, really tight all the way from 3rd on 48 points with Middlesbrough. And you'd probably say, let's just go even down to Reading have got a chance at playoffs with, I mean, even Bristol City, you say. I mean, the Championship's mental, but there is so many teams going for those playoff spots. It's a bit of a weird season that the fact that Burnley and Sheffield United have just kind of run away with it. And I think it's fair to say I'd be surprised if they, bottled it from here and didn't go up in those automatics, especially with the game in hand on us, for example. But then you look at the playoffs, Sam, and you look at the teams around there. How genuinely confident do you feel that if that we get into the playoffs from this point? I know it's still with 30 games, you've still got 16 games to go this season. But from the evidence you've seen of the 30 so far, and just taking away from yesterday as well, just look at the bigger picture. How confident are you that you'll see us in a playoff spot?
As you say, the Championship is such a tight league. There are so many teams, probably 10 teams who could get into those just 4 spaces in the playoffs. There are some really, really good teams in and around there. I really like the look of Norwich. I really like the look of West Brom. Obviously, there's that lot up the road as well, who look really good at the moment under Rob Edwards. I do fear for our place. I think we'll get there because I think the quality that we have coming back into the side should get us over the line. I think this next month is huge because I don't think we'll pick up many wins. I think it's probably those home games against Blackburn this Saturday and West Brom at home as well, which is so crucial, and Preston at home as well. Those 3 home games are massive. If we can sort of end that run of games even if we're not in the playoffs, but within, say, 2-3 points of it, I think we'll probably be okay. But it's just about making sure now that we stay in touch with everyone else during this tough run of fixtures, get everyone back, get João Pedro up to speed, Aru settled in even more, Imran Loser closer to fitness. I think we probably should be okay.
Before we go back to yesterday, Charlie, just looking at Watford's next 5 league fixtures, we've got Blackburn at home next Saturday, Burnley away on the Monday night, West Brom at home, Sheffield United away, Preston at home. Is it too far to say that this is a season-defining sort of 5 league games for Watford in terms of our playoff chances?
I think so. I think Sam was pretty accurate there. We need to come out of this run of fixtures, not necessarily winning all of them, but we know what it's like at this club and like the hysteria with the losing. If we just defeat after defeat after defeat, we know what news could be coming, and we know how desperate Gino is to get in the Premier League. So we just need to come out of that game of fixtures with 2 or 3 wins, spirited performance, players coming back, optimism. If we fall off a cliff and it gets really bad and there's bad energy, I think we know what could possibly happen. And then,
Charlie, if we lose, well, that's the fear, but not necessarily lose, but don't win on Saturday against Blackburn. Do you think that's it?
No, I think this run of fixtures will get played out, and they are big games for Bilic. Like I said, if it is LLLL, and it's a real bad vibe around the club, Gino's going, I've got 10 games to get us in a playoff position. How am I going to do it? I hate talking about this, but we're Watford, so this is just the reality of it.
Yeah.
So I can't see it I can't see it against Blackburn personally. We have got Burnley away after that, haven't we? Which I'm going to. That should be fun. I can't see it. I think he'll get this run of fixtures. And look, I still think Bilic is a really good manager for us at this level. Let's have it right. It's not going swimmingly. It's not going how we'd like it. It's not going how we'd like it. Context, there's loads of stuff that's gone on, which has made it difficult for him and us. So let's just hope we can get a good performance. Just try and keep nodding along. We're playing the big boys, so sometimes we're a bit better when our backs up against Wolf. We can get out of those, still in touch, like you said. We don't even need to be in the playoffs, couple of points, and then I think we've got an easier run in towards the end of the season. And like we said, we want to be like a racehorse coming up to those playoffs, kind of on the outside, just timing it perfectly, hitting form. And it doesn't matter if we finish 3rd or 6th. Playoffs is anyone can win it. So we just need that last 5 games going into playoff, some good vibes at the Vic.
I think that's a great point. I honestly do believe if we got in the playoffs, we've got a great chance. Not just obviously the fact that we're in the playoffs, but you mentioned that, Charlie. In the big games this season, on the whole, we've turned up. You look at, obviously, first game of the season against Sheffield United, the Burnley game, the Middlesbrough game. Although it wasn't a great game, we still managed to get over the line. Norwich away. There is something there. It's just such a confusing. This club, man, it's so confusing because I'm like, I look at the team and I just think, one week, like yesterday, you just think, oh, why? And then another week, we'll probably go away to Sheffield United. We'll manage to win 3-0 and everyone's like, wow, we're back again. But Sam, just going back onto yesterday and let us know in the comment section where you think we'll finish this season and whether you think if we do get in the playoffs, we can go through. There is such a long way to go. So I know that's looking really far ahead, but where you think we'll finish. Charlotte says, this group of players will learn a lot from the experience of making the playoffs. We're way off the quality needed to sustain a place in the Premier League, though. Be careful what you wish for. Tommy says, no way we can sack Bilic. For the first yesterday, fans were singing his name. We need to stick with him whatever happens. One to throw over to you, Sam. Not sure if I saw it right, but pretty sure Davis took his shirt off and went straight down the tunnel after being subbed. Think he wasn't happy in that behind the striker role.
Yeah, I didn't see this, but someone close to me picked up on it. Apparently, he was fuming when he came off, Davis, and just went straight down the tunnel, which is interesting. I can't confirm or deny, as I didn't see it myself, but very interesting considering his role now will probably change with the Rouge in there, with João Pedro coming back. Sombalonga as well could provide competition. So wouldn't shock me if he's frustrated. But it did get me thinking, though, with Davis and Hamza Chowdhury, assume if we don't go up, there's no option, is there, to loan him?
So I think Davis, there was it 15 million? We'd have the option to buy him.
Do you think that if we don't go up, we'll try and get either of them back next season?
If we go up?
If we don't go up, stay in the Championship.
I could see Chowdhury. I
Depends how we end the season. But
Yeah.
they're probably, if it ends really badly, but they might be thinking, do they want to go to a team which is, I don't know, just above the relegation? I think so many mitigating factors yet, and I just wish I think we're not getting the best out of Davis personally. I think he's a really, really good player, and we're just not, for whatever reason, it's not quite working.
Correct me if I'm wrong, I'm pretty sure, and I don't want to misquote Andrew French, but I thought the deal was if we go up, we have to buy him, and if we don't go up, it was an option. I'm pretty sure. Someone, if someone could check that, that'd be great. But from what I remember reading, it was like a £15 million sort of deal either way, and it was like an obligation or not. But Sam, I just wanted to go back onto yesterday in terms of, we mentioned obviously the result and the bigger picture, but going back in terms of performances, what was the one big takeaway you took away from yesterday? Was it a player? Was it a moment? Was it a feeling? What was the one big takeaway?
And we've sort of got all the negative things out the way this video, I think. So I'm going to try and let's move on to more positive. It was really good to see João Pedro come back onto the pitch. I think obviously we know how big he's going to be for us. Didn't really manage to get into the game yesterday, but
should he have been sent off?
Probably just sorry.
Should he have been sent off?
I couldn't see it. Well, what happened?
It was tasty.
Oh, the little scrap at the end. Yeah,
big lunging tackle.
Yeah, I'd have to watch it back, to be honest with you. But on the whole, though, I mean, luckily he didn't get sent off, but it is good to see him back. I thought Ryan Porteous had a good debut. I know he conceded 2 goals, but I don't think either of them he could have done much about. And great to see him get on the score sheet as well. I love the goal celebration as well. Him just standing in front of the away end with a Rouge jumping on top of him. There was some. I thought Sarr was good yesterday. Our first goal was lovely as well. Lovely ball from Gaspar through to a Rouge, who pulled it back for Sarr. But that, as I said before, makes it even more frustrating because I think there were a lot of positives yesterday, but counts for nothing in this league if you don't pick up 3 points.
Yeah, I was going to chuck this one over to you, Charlie, about Porteous. As Sam said, debut away from home. Obviously, he would have loved the clean sheet, but it's an absolutely superb header. The run to get across the near post, which is such an underrated run, I think, when players do that, because you're on the blind side of the defender. They can't see you. Bang, gets up, far post, keeper no chance. And it just, in his overall performance, what did you make of it? Because it did really feel like he slotted in seamlessly, to be honest. Yeah,
he should have been the story yesterday. We should have kept a clean sheet, him getting one of the goals. But I was really impressed with him throughout the whole game. I thought application was superb. I thought he was aggressive, but not too rash. I mean, that's one of the things people have thrown at him, saying he can be a bit wild. I think there was one where he came right out and missed it. But he just showed that proactiveness. We said about he won loads of headers in the air, crosses getting put in, wasn't at fault for any of those. And obviously, that goal, we talked about him being an aerial threat, and to score on your debut must have been a nice feeling. And he just looks like he's got a bit of charisma about him, doesn't he? And you don't want to go overboard, but you're thinking, is he the Scottish Virgil van Dijk? No, I'm joking. I'm saying he's the kind of profile where can he really stake a claim? Can he really drag us forward? Can he develop? Because he's not the finished article yet. Is he
great age as well?
Yeah, future captain,
23,
future captain maybe. I don't know, but I really loved his performance, and I really loved his interview after the game. And they asked him about the Cathcart, the penalty decision, and he was really honest. He was like, "Look, if that's my team, I'm calling for a penalty all day." But Shane Long, very intelligent. He knew exactly what he's doing. I'm not sure Craig could have done too much. So, really like what I've seen so far of Porteous, and long may it continue.
Sure. S right in the comment section. Positives. Porteous looked good. Actually attacks the ball and loves his pitch. Personality coming to the fore. I also saw a great comment up here about Jim said, I thought Jay Demerit was back when I saw Porteous' goal. It was very Jay Demerit-esque with that header. And as Sam said, the Christ the Redeemer celebration in front of the away was phenomenal. One man who was celebrating with him, Sam, was Henrik Rouge, who I put a tweet out in the first half, and I said I really like the look of him in terms of, I thought the runs he was making, he tied on the ball, just felt at times maybe in the second half he not lost his way a little bit, but thought he could have benefited from a bit more support from his teammates. But I thought the runs he made really clever, and you do feel like if he gets the opportunity, he'll get a lot of chances just because he does make those clever runs.
Yeah, he looks like a really intelligent player. I'd really like the look of him already in that cameo last week away at Middlesbrough in the second half, and also yesterday in that first half. I think he's probably still adjusting to English football, which is why he was a bit off the boil after the break. But yeah, I really like the look of him, and if he can strike a partnership with whoever it is up top with him, whether it's Davis in the 10, João Pedro in the 10, Sonbalonga, I think we could be onto a really good player in the second half of the season.
Charlie, for you, is he a starter now in terms of what you've seen so far?
Yeah, I think so. I was a bit unsure, but like in that first half, his movement, he terrorised their defence. Just they didn't know where he was, and I think that second half, he got a lot of balls to feet with his back to goal, and their defenders just absolutely went through him because they knew that was the only way we could stop him. We need Davis to be that person. But yeah, his movement was brilliant. There was a quick throw, which he's always on the line of the defender. Like, I'm not going to compare him to Haaland. I've got Van Dijk and Haaland today. But like, the way he's trying to create space, and he did that for the Saar goal. He's looking on the shoulder. Yeah, I really, really like the look at him. It's just now we need to go, how are we going to get the best out of him and Keenan Davis? Are we going to try again Davis in the 10? Do we just play one of them? And my only problem is we've got his movement looks fantastic, looks a great player. Who's going to be threading the balls through? Who's the creative force who's going to be making the most of his runs?
Alex,
I don't know.
really
What do you guys think Slav should do in terms of the strikers for Blackburn?
Go on, Sam.
I think it will certainly help when João Pedro is fully up to speed, get him, perhaps picking the ball up a bit deeper. I know he'd want to be further up the pitch, but we know he's got the ability to pick up the ball from deeper areas and play it forward. So I think he could be the short-term answer while we wait for Imran Louza to come back. Davis is frustrating me, to be honest with you. I know, Charlie, you really like him, and I'm not saying it's necessarily Davis's fault because I don't think we're playing to his strengths, but I think with the way that we want to play, the way that Bilic is trying to play, I just think at this moment in time, Arouge is probably better suited to it all.
So one player that I think we've all forgot is when Asprilla comes back. And actually, when you look at the assists this season, he arguably, I think that Norwich away goal was probably assist of the season so far. That ball, pre-assist. The ball he played to Saar was past the season.
Was he on the bench yesterday?
He wasn't. I think he's picked up a little bit of a knock. No, he wasn't. I'll just double check now. No, he wasn't. I mean, that is when you look at our bench at the moment, you do feel like we're missing that creative player who can come off. Because, I mean, the substitution, Sam, we mentioned on the phone earlier about, Adeyemo coming on at right midfield, which wasn't really fair on him, I don't think. Asamblonga came on, obviously an offside goal. I actually do believe, I'm still going to stand to this day, football conspiracy. I think if Asamblonga doesn't go off celebrating, I think gets warded.
I agree completely.
Get out of the way, Britt. Do you not think would it have gone in if Britt didn't touch it? It was a decent strike. It was troubling the keeper.
Decent strike, yeah, maybe. But I honestly, I genuinely think with the officials in the Championship, if he had gone off running off to Mateus Martins, they don't even have a look at that.
Yeah.
Sorry, I know no one can prove that, but I'm just convinced in my head. I've watched it about 15 times, and I don't know, it would have been pretty poetic actually if he got a goal yesterday. But sorry, Sam, I'm completely waffling. My point, where was I going? In terms of the substitutions, Bilic, too slow, right subs?
It's difficult to say. I think the Adeyemo putting him out wide was ridiculous, to be honest, and I feel sorry for him as well because I don't think he should be experiencing his sort of early stages of professional of men's football playing completely out of position. So I feel sorry for him in that regard. I think it was probably the right idea to bring on a Sonbalonga. Trying to think who are the other subs now as well.
Pedro. Yeah,
Pedro. So good to see Pedro get minutes and Kone as well coming back on. So probably too slow, I'd say, as well, and playing players out of position, which was frustrating.
One thing I'd say about Arouge, he was getting put about a little bit yesterday. There was a lot of times he was kind of like putting his hands up and you're thinking, well, welcome to the Championship sort of thing. In terms of other players, Charlie, was there anyone else where you thought particularly good, particularly bad? We mentioned Gaspar went a little bit under the radar. His ball to Arouge for the first goal was really good. And then it's the corner we conceded is just so cheap. I think it was Bakuna and Gaspar, if I remember correctly. to give away the corner. But there's not a lot we could have really done, could we, about the second goal? Do you think?
Great strike from Jeff Hendrick. Can't say no, but it's a training ground routine where they've left someone on the edge of the box. So I think Cathcart was getting out. Should we have more of an eye? I don't know. We're nitpicking and maybe just put it down to a good strike. My only problem is Jeff Hendrick did that a week or 2 weeks ago, so we know he can shoot from distance. So we know that should be a threat. I was just more frustrated that we couldn't control the game and see it out and just put our foot on the ball instead of like the penalty decisions and stuff like that. So, but the only other player I wanted to mention, and Matthias Martins, I don't know what you guys thought. I thought he looked bright in spells. He takes the ball. He's brave. But I still think you can tell he's a 19-year-old who makes poor decisions. I can't gauge whether I think he's going to be amazing or not yet. Whereas I look at Kone, I think he could really progress. I think at Martins, I'm not sure how high his ceiling is. What do you reckon?
Yeah, it's a weird one because it's sort of, I know with Richarlison when he first came in and he hit the ground running. We also have João Pedro. I know he was sort of got a couple of minutes in the Premier League, but the following season in the Championship, he hit the ground running. And I know Martins is doing well, I'd say on the whole, but his final ball certainly needs to improve. He probably should have had 2 or 3 goals already at this point. There was when he hit the bar against, was it Rotherham, I think it was, and he really should have scored there. He should have scored against Blackpool when Toby Adeyemo got into the end of it. And I thought some of his decision-making yesterday, again, was poor. But I think it will come with time. And he probably still needs to grow into his body a bit.
What I will say is I think to come into a different country, not speak the language, and kind of go straight into a Championship season midway through the season is an impressive way he settled in. And I think actually when you look at his performances, he's kind of rising to the occasion, is what I would say. He hasn't hidden any games.
He's brave.
He's brave. He looks on the ball, and the decision making I think is something which will come. I think he can even, Pedro wasn't the finished article when he came to us initially. I mean, that season with Ivic, a lot of the times he played really, really well, but you're looking at him going, oh, could you released it a bit earlier, taking too many touches? And there's still elements of his game that I do kind of see the comparison. I think for me with Martins, I just think sometimes he overcomplicates some simple actions. Like he can, as you guys said, he can release the ball a little bit earlier, maybe just try not to take one person on too many. But I do think in terms of where I'm putting him, Charlie, I do think, yesterday I thought he played well. And also, I think the stuff that we're picking him out for, I think it's quite easy to improve over time. I don't think it's something where you're looking at him and you're going, God, he really lacks that, or he really lacks that. I just think it's like fine-tuning him at the moment.
Yeah. And before Porteous scored, which led up to that corner, we had a really nice breakaway where Sarr played it to Martins, and Sarr made an inside run, and Martins played a perfect through ball to him.
Yeah.
Sarr hit the keeper, should have scored. So it's not like he's wasting absolutely every opportunity. Who knows? He might have got a goal if Brick did get in the way. So yeah, I'm excited to see what he's doing. I didn't realise he was the most expensive transfer in Serie A in January.
Oh, I saw the article the other day on The Athletic, James Horncastle, and he shipped immediately out to Watford, which shows we're absolutely massive. But Sam, one player who I've just seen in the comment section, who you mentioned at the top of the show, Ismaila Sarr, you said it was one of his better games yesterday. What was it particularly about the performance?
Yeah, I thought he was really good yesterday. I thought he was tracking back, defending quite well, particularly in that first half. I think he won a ball from a corner or something like that, put a couple of good blocks in, and going forward, he looked really dangerous as well. Obviously got his goal and really caused problems for the Reading defence. And I think it's the frustrating thing with Sarr, again, because we know that he's capable of this. We know how good he can be, but we just don't see it enough. And I'm just hoping now, hopefully, I know the result wasn't the best, but I'm hoping he can kick on from here because at the end of the day, we're also looking at upping his price tag for the summer.
Yeah, exactly. I think where we're going to kind of wrap this sharp is with some player ratings. So I'm going to flip it as we did last week between Charlie and Sam. I'm staying as a neutral, so you can't have a go at me. Look, I'm going to start off with Daniel Batman. Charlie made a good save in the first half, had to tip it around the post. Couldn't really do a lot about the goals. So what would you give him?
Probably a 6 or a 7. I thought he was fine. Didn't make any mistakes. Good save. Yeah, did all right.
6.
Yeah, 6. Did I say 6?
It
Did I
was
not say anything?
6.5. So, Sam, I'll throw it over to you. Do you know what? I'm going to save Porteous to Charlie. So I'll start with Craig Cathcart, who, we haven't touched on the penalty, but Jesus Christ, how has that been given?
Yeah, it's such a soft one, and it should never be given. But I didn't think Cathcart had one of his best games anyway yesterday. I know it's very difficult to say in terms of whether we could have done anything about Jeff Hendrick's goal, but if maybe I think it was Cathcart could have got out a bit quicker potentially. That might be me being incredibly harsh there. But his passing as well wasn't fully up to speed. I'd probably give Cathcart a 5.
My only thing with Cathcart as well, with the penalty, could he have just attacked the ball? Should he know that Long's coming and he's waited for the ball to come to him? Can he just literally see it away?
Yeah.
I don't know. Long has played a blinder. We have got Shane Long again. Like he literally threw his legs at him.
Certainly Cathcart against Shane Long. I think it was Cathcart at fault when Shane Long scored that 7-second goal, wasn't it?
Oh
God, I've had enough of him.
Yeah,
I've had enough of Shane Long. He scored the quickest ever Premier League goal against us, and he's just annoying, absolute pest. But one of those players in the Championship, one of those players you want in your squad, I think.
We'll probably sign him in the summer.
That is very awful, isn't it? Moving on to his centre back partner.
Otto.
he loves him.
So good. Charlie, what are you giving Porto Booty?
I'd give him an 8. Like if we kept clean sheet 1, he'd probably got a 9. He only would have got a 10 if he was playing against decent opposition. So I'd probably give him an 8. Like we've all discussed, I thought he was really, really solid, strong, great debut. First time he's ever played in the league. So yeah, I'm encouraged to see it. Hopefully, I want to see him against better opposition, but a really good start.
Agreed. And also, he's brought Andy Murray to watch Watford games, which I think is absolutely top draw. Sam, Hassan Kamara. This is one that I never know where I place him on the player ratings, because it shows signs going forwards, and you think, God, yeah, good fullback. And there's other times, I mean, just, I don't know if anyone's watched it back on who's watching at the moment, but for me, the way he sits off the Reading winger and allows that ball just to be played into the box, and yes, Cathcart could deal with it better, but why is there not that pressure? It's literally like a couple of yards away. That ball doesn't happen if he gets out to him, in my opinion. Rant over, but Sam, what are you giving him on the player ratings?
It was I actually thought it was.
What are you giving him, Jacob?
Yeah, Jacob, we'll give this one to you. Actually, we'll give you Kamara.
4.
I'll probably give the same. Yeah.
That was a unanimous decision. Let us know in the comment section. Do you know what, Sam? I've nicked your one there, so I'll give you Mario Gaspar.
I thought Mario did okay yesterday. A lovely pass as well for the first goal over the top for Rouge. Good to see him back at right back as well, rather than in central midfield. 6.
Great. Gaspar is such a bizarre player as well, because the ball's lovely, but his technique is really unusual. Have you noticed? Like, even it's almost like he's scooping the ball. It's not like am I just like tripping? I don't know. I'm like looking at him and I'm just thinking, how have you played that? And even like down the line, it just has, I don't know, weird. S right in the conversation goes Gaspar 6, steady but tired later. So that's the back line done. Moving on to midfield, I'll give you Hamza Chowdhury, who was involved in that mass brawl at the end and mud all over his shirt. Charlie, what would you rate Hamza Chowdhury yesterday?
Not one of his better games for me. He did have a couple of bits where he covered the grass well and made a few interceptions and close and play out. I just thought the level of opposition, it could have been one of his games where he could have imposed himself. There was a really bad moment where Hamza will hate to watch this back, but he was driving forward, like making strides forward and thinking, go on. And it's the ball's hit his standing foot and he swung with his right foot and just collapsed to the ground. You know those ones, we've all been there. But he's just done it in front of thousands of people. I don't think he had one of his best games. He just needs someone next to him who can pass. But yeah, I'd probably say a 5. That midfield is pretty chaotic, and at the end, when it was all kicking off, I don't know if I liked it or not. I think I did like it because Pedro made that awful foul, and their player came over and literally held him for about 10 seconds, proper putting it on Pedro. And then Hamza was the one person who did try to intervene. So I did rate that for him, backing up his mate, because that guy had it in for Pedro. I thought he was going to eat him or something. So
showed a bit of cojones, didn't it?
Yeah.
That's what we were missing. S right. Sorry, these player ratings with S right as well. Chowdhury 5, more interested in Kung Fu is his takeaway. Moving on to the next one, Sam, is Leandro Bacuna.
Not very good, I don't think. I'm thinking a 3 is probably too harsh. I'll give him a 4.
On the same level as Kamara.
Yeah, probably same level as Kamara.
Moving on to the next player, Charlie, Mateus Martins, number 37. Assist for Porteous, his header.
Yeah, could have got a goal as well. I'd probably say a 7. I'll give him a 7. Be generous, just because of how old he is. He looks bright again, like brave, like we said. So he's done well to stay in the team, like you said. So hopefully we can see him keep improving.
Yeah. Mateus Martins 7. Over to Ismail Sarr, Sam.
Give him an 8 for yesterday. I thought he was brilliant. Got his goal as well. Played a key role, as I spoke about before, defensively. Hopefully he can kick on from here.
Laura, agree with Sam about Sarr. Made a couple of good defensive blocks. Caroline says 7 for Martins. Great potential. Moving on to the strikers yesterday. I'll give you Keenan Davis, Charlie.
Not one of his best games. I'd probably give him a 5, but he's playing in a position which he's not used to. And it does make a difference. Like, he's literally playing in a 10. I'm not sure he knew how deep to drop, picking up positions kind of alongside, in front of, behind Arouge. So, yeah, probably give him a 5. But I do think he is one of our better players and he should be in the team. We just need to find a way to get the best out of him.
To utilise him. Yeah, I do agree. I think on form, Keenan Davis, as we've seen this season at times, is one of the most unstoppable players in the league, in my opinion, when he's on form.
Just a question, though, on him. How many goals has he scored this season? 5, is it?
Hold the line.
4 or 5, yeah.
Yeah, it's 4 or 5. And
this season, he has scored 4 goals.
And look, regardless of whether... It's a question for Charlie, because I know you're a big fan of his. Regardless of... Do you think he could be doing more as well? Or do you think that this is purely... Because that's not good enough, that goal tally, ultimately.
Interesting, Sam, just to jump in. At Forest, he got 5 goals last season.
He's not a goal scorer. And I think we knew this coming in. It's a focal point that we need, and look at our attacking players behind to be spreading out the goals. He's had loads of injuries. He hasn't played every game. So, yeah, that's interesting that he got 5 for Forest and they absolutely love him. So I think that's an interesting point. I think you're right. But can you remember many one-on-ones he's missed or glaring opportunities? I can't.
No, my frustration more with him is just him not getting in the area. But as you say, if that's not his game, then Arouge could be that man. I think it's just a supply line. I mean, in defence of Davis, I do agree, Sam. He should be doing more. And yesterday, he should be doing more. I think if you were speaking on behalf of him, I'd imagine he'd argue one of his obviously played 45 against Middlesbrough, still getting back up to fitness. They're probably managing his minutes a little bit. I think also the fact that actually, is he getting enough service? Is he doing enough that he can turn around? Like, for example, I don't know if you watched City Tottenham earlier. Haaland was making all these runs, and you're like, what more can he do? I mean, they just weren't finding him. With Davis, do you feel like he's doing enough to get more service? Is my question. Because Arouge, you look at him yesterday and you go, he should have been supplied more in terms of the runs he was making, particularly from midfield. So, Sam Fan Club in the comment section. But do you think Charlie...
Do you know what it is? It's my housemate downstairs playing FIFA, and it's just starting.
So, Charlie, when you look at Davis, do you think he's doing enough
I think it's a bit of both. Like he probably knows himself.
Yeah.
He could be doing a bit more, but circumstances, injuries, position he's playing, no supply line. How good was he Norwich away? Do you remember that game when he was kind of bulldozing and he was?
Yeah,
that's when he got injured. So a bit of both. I really hope he can find a bit of form going into the end of the season, because if we just get balls into him, and again, that's where João Pedro would be good. Get balls into him. He takes like two defenders away, and can that create space for Rouge?
And moving on to this is some of the comments coming in absolutely outrageous. Moving on to the last player, Sam. Henrik. I gave you Davis, didn't I, Charlie? So Henrik Rouge from the starting lineup. You gave Sarr an 8, didn't you? So he's your man of the match so far. Well, alongside Porteous. So does a Rouge top it?
Not quite, no. I think a 7 for a Rouge, just because in the second half he went quite off the boil. But really positive signs, and I think when he gets experience is the wrong words, but when he gets more up to speed in the Championship, I think we've got a great player there for the second half of the season.
Great stuff. Any of the subs you guys feel deserve a rating out of the 4? So we had Pedro, Kone, Asamoah, Adeyemo.
I'll give Pedro 10 just because he's back.
And clap the fans when he came on. I thought, oh, João, missed you.
What a man. Slaven Bilic.
Bilic, that's a great one. And we'll go all round. Charlie Zazzera.
Thing is, we were in a 2-0 lead, coasting. Like, did he start anyone that was wrong? Like, I don't know. I'd probably give him a 6, but I don't. Again, I thought we were coasting the game, like winning 2-0. The penalty happens. I don't know what more he could have done. I'm just thinking, could have he been more proactive with subs? Could Kone have started? I'd probably give him a 6, but I definitely don't think like conceding 2 goals is down to Bilic.
No, but I do understand. It's interesting when you strip it back and you go, you threw a 2-goal lead away against 16th in the table. Doesn't look great, but I know there's more to that. It's just if you were looking at it from the outside, you're like, bloody hell. Sam, for you, Charlie's gone 6 for Bilic. You put a tweet out pretty soon after full time. I love Sam's tweets post match. The engagement is phenomenal as well. You put a tweet out basically saying, I don't want to misquote you. Give me a second. About Bilic saying, where was it? Thought about it a little, and it pains me to say I feel like this is only any one way of Bilic, matter of when rather than if. Was that based on yesterday, or was that just based on the feeling?
Just the feeling as a whole. I want Bilic to stay. I love him. I think I really like him. I just think he doesn't look happy. I very much doubt he was happy with our transfer window either, because he didn't get the winger that he wanted. I don't think he got the midfield that he wanted either. If you look at his body language in post-match interviews when we don't win, he just looks frustrated. Do the players look like they're playing for him? Do you think they are?
I don't know. It's hard to define though, isn't it?
Yeah. I mean,
I always find that really hard if they're playing for him, because if we'd won yesterday, no one would have said anything.
Yeah, no, that's
we haven't seen lack of effort running. No. When you say are the players playing for him? I think we've seen a couple of times down the years where you do see no running back, and you see people just ghosting in, and there's no. Do you know what I mean? So I just think it's such a when you lose. It's like, you're fuming, and when you win, it's all rosy. So,
what I would say though, Sam, in my opinion, I don't think we look well coached at the minute.
I'd agree with you. I think it's all sort of. We could talk about this situation for ages. I think the whole Ben Manga situation, I don't think it's helped Bilic's case here. I don't think he necessarily agrees with everything that went. As I say, I don't think he agrees with everything that went on in the transfer window. I'm not saying that. Because he hasn't down tools, it's a lot more complicated than just saying that. I think Bilic has to improve, but that's not the same as saying I want Bilic out, if that makes sense. But it hasn't been good enough for the last few weeks. I hope that he realises that he's good enough within himself to get us promoted. There's players coming back that can get us promoted as well through the playoffs. So we just have to back him. But my gut feeling is don't win next week, and I reckon he's gone.
Oh, it's the headline of WD18. Bilic gone if no win next week. Max says in the comment section, 2 debuts look like they were playing with passion. Love that picture after the second goal. It's a class picture. I think it's on the thumbnail of Sam's match reaction, which if you want to go and check it out, make sure you do after this stream. So Sam, Charlie went for 6. You went Bilic.
I'll give him a 6 as well.
6. We'll go 6 all round just to make it easy. But I was going to go around that mark as well. Dave Robinson, fair comment after Ranieri and Hodgson. Bilic is a great improvement. I doubt we can do better right now, and I think that is a really good point. I think when you look at Bilic's track record, you look at what he's done before. Could you go and get out a better manager than Bilic? I think you'd struggle, but could we do better, or could we go and get a Manga appointment? That's the question I think that probably is going to be talked about, because it doesn't feel like he is a fit for Costa or Manga. Just my gut feeling anyway. But we'll have the summer to think about, and that's all kind of hypothetical at the moment. But I think that's where we're going to leave it. Finish Reading 2, Watford 2. That's our review and our player rating. So make sure you do go and check out Sam's instant match reaction from yesterday. Sean Walker, big shout out to Sean. What a guy.
Great cameo.
I love that, man. What a guy. Little cameo on the stream yesterday. Sam had an unbelievable time in Reading, judging by the Instagram stories. So make sure you go and follow him on the socials. Charlie as well. As Caroline says, don't forget to hit subscribe, hit the like button, follow us on Twitter and Instagram at WD18fans, and we'll see you in the next one. Up the Hornets. Take care.